Hello, my friends, and welcome back to English Mindset, the place where you don't just study English, you live it, breathe it, and let it become part of who you are. I'm so happy that you're here with me today, because what we're going to talk about has the power to completely transform your relationship with English. Now, let me start with something simple but very important. English is not impossible. It is not too hard. It is not beyond your reach, and it is not something that belongs only to native speakers or people living in London, New York, or Sydney. English belongs to you too. You can speak it. You can live it. You can make it yours. I know many of you listening right now have felt nervous when it's time to speak. Maybe your heart beats faster, your mouth goes dry, and your thoughts suddenly freeze. You know the words in your head, but they don't come out of your mouth. Or maybe you stop before even trying, because the fear of making mistakes is louder than your courage to speak. Does that sound familiar? If that's you, please know this: you are not alone. Almost every language learner has been in the same place. Even I have been there. I know how it feels to study hard, remember the rules, pass grammar tests, and then suddenly feel lost when you actually have to speak. I know how frustrating it is when you listen to others speaking fast and smooth, and you feel like you'll never catch up. But I'm here to tell you those feelings don't have to stay with you. Today, I want you to see English in a new way. I want you to stop thinking of it as something heavy, something difficult, or something you need to fight with. Instead, think of English as something alive, something you can live with every day. You don't just study English. You use it, you play with it, you think in it, and you slowly let it become a part of your life. And where do we begin? With the most important step: your mindset. Your mindset is the foundation of everything. If you believe that English is too hard, your brain will resist it. Every time you see a new word, it will feel like a mountain you can't climb. Every time you try to speak, you'll hear your own voice saying, "I'm not good enough." But when you choose to believe that English is simple, natural, and possible, suddenly, your brain stops fighting and starts helping you. Think back to when you learned to walk as a child. You fell many times, but you didn't stop. You didn't think, "Oh no, I made a mistake. Walking is too difficult for me." No, you just kept trying, and eventually it became second nature. That is exactly how language works. Mistakes are not the end. Mistakes are the path. So here's what I want you to do right now. Say this out loud with me. English is easy. I can speak English. I am learning every day. Don't just say it once. Repeat it. Believe it. Let it sink into your mind until it feels real. Because when you believe, you give yourself permission to grow. And let me share a secret with you: the people who succeed in learning English are not always the most talented or the most intelligent. They are the ones who keep going. The ones who believe they can improve even on days when it feels slow. Your belief creates your reality. So, mindset first. Believe that English is possible for you and the rest will follow. Now that your mindset is ready, let's talk about something practical: how to bring English into your daily life. Many learners believe that in order to speak fluently, they must live in an English-speaking country. They think they need to fly to America, Britain, or Australia, find a native-speaking partner, and spend thousands of dollars on courses. But here's the truth, you don't need any of that. You can create an English-speaking environment no matter where you are. Even if you are sitting in a small town where no one speaks English, you can surround yourself with the language. The key is to make English part of your world, not just a subject in a book, but a living presence in your daily routine. So how do you do that? Let's break it down. You probably use your phone dozens, maybe even hundreds of times each day. Every time you check a notification, scroll through social media, or send a message, you are reading. If your phone is set to your native language, you are reading in that language. But if you switch it to English, suddenly every single glance becomes a micro lesson. Think about it when you see settings instead of "SIDAT" or battery low instead of your local translation, your brain begins to connect with English naturally. You don't need to sit down and memorize vocabulary. You simply live it. One of the biggest mistakes learners make is translating every thought from their native language to English. That process is slow, unnatural, and stressful. Instead, begin practicing the habit of thinking directly in English. Start small. In the morning, when you wake up, think, "I am getting up." When you brush your teeth, say to yourself, "I am brushing my teeth." When you go to the market, think, "I need to buy some apples." These short, simple thoughts are powerful because they train your brain to use English as your first option. Over time, these small exercises grow. Your brain begins to choose English naturally, without needing to translate. And that, my friends, is a huge step toward fluency. Yes, you heard me right. Talk to yourself in English. Stand in front of a mirror and have simple conversations. Ask yourself questions. Answer them. Pretend you are introducing yourself to someone new. Pretend you are ordering at a restaurant or asking for directions. This practice may feel funny at first, but it works. Why? Because there is no fear. No one is judging you. You are free to experiment, free to make mistakes, and free to practice as much as you want. And trust me, the more you do this, the more confident you will feel when it's time to speak with real people. Another powerful trick is to label objects around your house. Take small pieces of paper, write the English names of objects, and stick them where they belong. On your refrigerator, write refrigerator. On your desk, write desk. On your mirror, write mirror. And don't just look at them, say them out loud every time you see them. For example, when you open your fridge, say, "This is a refrigerator. I keep food inside it." When you sit on your chair, say, "This is a chair. I am sitting on a chair." By doing this, you are training your brain to connect English directly with real things in your life. You are turning your house into a living classroom. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest fears of learners, grammar. So many people stop themselves from speaking because they're afraid of making grammar mistakes. They think, "What if I say it wrong? What if I use the wrong tense?" And because of that fear, they don't speak at all. But let me tell you something important, focusing too much on grammar will kill your fluency. Yes, grammar matters, but it should not come first. When you were a child learning your first language, you didn't sit down with a grammar book. You didn't memorize verb conjugations before saying mama or papa. You listened, you repeated, and you learned through experience. That's exactly how you should approach English. Don't try to be perfect. Try to communicate. Start with simple sentences. I am eating. She is going to the market. They are playing football. These sentences may look simple, but they are the foundation. Repetition will make them second nature, and from there, more complex grammar will come naturally. Remember, speaking fluently is not about being perfect, it's about being understood. And often, simple is better. Now that you've surrounded yourself with English and released the fear of grammar, it's time to bring speaking into your everyday routine. Describe your actions out loud. When you wake up, say, "Good morning. I feel great today." When you make breakfast, say, "I'm making tea. This tea smells wonderful." When you go shopping, ask yourself, "How much is this? Do you have fresh tomatoes?" Even if you don't have anyone to practice with, you can practice with yourself. Every moment in your day is an opportunity. The more you speak, the more natural it becomes. And here's a tip: if you have friends who are also learning English, create a rule that whenever you meet, you speak only in English for 10 minutes. It may feel strange at first, but it quickly becomes fun. You'll laugh, you'll learn, and you'll get better together. Here's one of the most powerful secrets to speaking English fluently: listening and repeating. When you hear a new sentence, don't just understand it in your mind, say it out loud. Copy the pronunciation. Copy the tone. Copy the rhythm. Imagine you are an actor, and your role is to sound exactly like the speaker. Why is this so important? Because language is not just words, it's music. Every language has its rhythm, its melody, its stress, and its pauses. When you learn to copy these, you stop sounding like a textbook and start sounding more natural. So here's how you can practice: listen actively. Don't just hear the words, notice how the speaker rises and falls in tone, which words they stress, and how quickly or slowly they speak. Imitate. Pause after a sentence and repeat it as closely as possible. Don't worry if it's not perfect, keep trying. Record yourself. This is one of the most powerful tools. When you listen to your own voice, you'll notice what sounds natural and what doesn't. Compare your version with the original and adjust. Now, many learners believe that speaking fast makes them sound fluent. But the truth is the opposite. Speaking too quickly often makes your pronunciation unclear. It's better to speak slowly and clearly. Give each word the space it deserves. When you do this, people will understand you better, and your confidence will grow. Let me give you an example. Imagine you say, "I want to go to the park." If you rush, it might sound like, "I wanna go to park." But if you slow down and give each sound its place, it becomes clear and natural. Remember this: clarity is more important than speed. Now let's face the biggest obstacle of all: fear. Fear of making mistakes. Fear of looking silly. Fear of not being understood. But here's the truth: fear never completely disappears. Even native speakers make mistakes. Even professional speakers feel nervous sometimes. The difference is, they don't let fear stop them. One technique that I want you to try is called the 3-second rule. The moment you want to speak, give yourself 3 seconds. Don't overthink. Don't translate in your head. Don't rehearse. Just open your mouth and say something. Why does this work? Because hesitation is the enemy of fluency. The longer you wait, the more nervous you become. But if you act quickly, your brain doesn't have time to freeze. Here's another truth: mistakes are not failures, they're signs of progress. If you never make mistakes, it means you're not pushing yourself. And if you're not pushing yourself, you're not growing. So wear your mistakes proudly. Each one is proof that you are learning. Think about children. When they first speak, they say funny, broken sentences. But their parents don't laugh at them. They encourage them. And with time, the child becomes fluent. That is exactly how you should treat yourself. So the next time fear comes, smile and speak anyway. Remember, courage is not the absence of fear, it's speaking in spite of it. Finally, let's talk about a game changer: thinking in English. This is the difference between slow, hesitant speech and natural fluency. When you think in your native language and then translate, you create a traffic jam in your brain. By the time the English words come out, the conversation has already moved on. But when you train yourself to think in English, your words flow smoothly and naturally. How do you train this skill? Start with simple things. When you wake up, look around your room and name objects: bed, pillow, window. Then make short sentences: I am brushing my teeth. I am making coffee. The sun is shining. Throughout the day, try to narrate your actions in English. Pretend you're a commentator of your own life. Now I am walking to the bus stop. The bus is late today. I see a dog crossing the street. At first, it feels like extra work. But little by little, your brain will adapt. One day, you'll notice that you no longer translate. The words simply appear. And that's when you'll know you're truly thinking in English. Before we move on, I want to say something very important. Confidence doesn't come from waiting until you're perfect. It comes from using what you have, right now. If you only know 50 words, use those 50 words. If you only know simple sentences, use those simple sentences. Each time you use them, you grow stronger. Confidence is like a muscle: the more you exercise it, the bigger it gets. So don't wait. Don't hide. Speak today, speak tomorrow, speak every day. Your confidence will build itself with every word you say. Now that you have the right mindset, daily habits, and growing confidence, let's talk about vocabulary, the fuel of your fluency. Without words, you can't express yourself. But here's the good news: building vocabulary doesn't have to be boring or overwhelming. If you follow the right strategies, you can grow your vocabulary faster, remember words longer, and actually use them in real life. Reading is one of the best ways to expand your vocabulary naturally. Why? Because when you see words in context, you learn not just their meaning, but also how they are used. You understand their rhythm, their partners, their emotional tone. Don't limit yourself to textbooks. Read what you enjoy. Books, Blogs, articles, short stories, even social media posts, all of them count. If you're interested in travel, read travel blogs. If you love cooking, read recipes in English. The more you enjoy the material, the more you'll stick with it. And here's a tip: don't just read passively. Highlight or note down new words. Look them up, write an example sentence, and try to use them later in your own speaking. Flashcards may seem old-fashioned, but they are still one of the most effective tools for memory. Write the new word on one side, and on the other side write its meaning, plus a simple example sentence. For example, word, serendipity. Meaning, finding something good by chance. Sentence, I found my favorite cafe by pure serendipity. Review your flashcards regularly. Repetition is what moves a word from short-term memory to long-term memory. You can use paper flashcards or apps like Anki or Quizlet. Instead of memorizing random words, learn them in groups. For example, emotions: happy, sad, frustrated, joyful, anxious. Travel: flight, passport, luggage, destination, hotel. Business: meeting, deadline, contract, proposal, negotiation. When words are connected, they stick together in your memory. Later, when you need to talk about travel, you'll be able to recall a whole set of related vocabulary. Here's a mistake many learners make: they memorize lists of words but never actually use them. If you don't use a word, you'll forget it. So the moment you learn a new word, practice it in a sentence. Write it. Speak it. Use it in conversation with a friend. Even if you're not 100% sure, try anyway. Language is learned by doing, not by storing. A great way to deepen your vocabulary is to learn families of words. For example, if you learn happy, also learn joyful, content, and cheerful. Then learn the opposites: sad, unhappy, gloomy. This gives you flexibility. Instead of always saying happy, you can choose the perfect word for the situation. Finally, the most powerful way to make vocabulary real is by using it in conversation. Find a speaking partner, join an online language exchange, or even record yourself telling a story with your new words. The more you use them, the more natural they will feel. At this point, you have everything you need: the mindset, the immersion, the speaking habits, the pronunciation tools, and the vocabulary strategies. But none of this will matter unless you do it every day. Consistency beats intensity. Speaking for 10 minutes every day is better than studying for 3 hours once a week. Reading one page every day is better than finishing one book and then stopping for months. Think of English like exercise. You don't get strong by going to the gym once. You get strong by showing up again and again. So build small, simple habits that fit your life. Listen to a podcast while cooking. Read one article before bed. Speak one sentence every morning in front of the mirror. These little actions, repeated daily, create momentum. And momentum creates fluency. My friends, before we close today's episode, I want to remind you of something very important: you are capable of fluency. You may not feel it yet, but every time you listen, every time you speak, every time you think in English, you are moving forward. Don't compare yourself to others. Don't measure your progress only by speed. Instead, celebrate every small step. The first time you understand a podcast without subtitles. The first time you order food in English. The first time you have a full conversation without freezing. These are victories. Celebrate them. And most importantly, don't give up. Fluency doesn't come overnight, but it will come if you keep going. Believe in yourself. Speak bravely. Learn joyfully. English is not just a subject, it's a bridge to new people, new opportunities, and a bigger world. So keep walking that bridge. Step by step, word by word, day by day. You are closer than you think. Thank you so much for spending this time with me on English Mindset. I hope this long session has not only given you strategies, but also hope, encouragement, and energy to continue your journey. Remember, English is easy. You can speak English. You are learning every day. Say it. Believe it. Live it. And before you go, I have one small request. If you found this podcast helpful, inspiring, or motivating, please share it with a friend who is also learning English. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new episode. Together, we'll keep growing, learning, and speaking with confidence. Until next time, my friends, keep practicing, keep believing, and keep shining.